guys, this is Salima with Celine Moon Goddess Tarot here with another tarot card reading. I decided to do 3 piles today. They're going to be signified by these crystals. I decided to do the theme of this reading is kind of a little bit more on the spiritual end of things. Just I felt like there might be people out there in the collective that feel very stuck, feel very maybe that they can't see they know or have an idea that they can't see their situation clearly. It can be any situation. It can be just feeling personally stagnant or feeling like you've been really working on this particular thing that you're trying to heal and you feel like you're just not getting anywhere, or perhaps you're trying to figure out, the next move to make, but you just are completely blank. Or there's some real generational trauma that you're really trying to work through and you just need some guidance and encouragement. It could be anything can come out, really. Because I'm not using tarot cards. I'm using these cards called soul cards, and they are all made of art. There's no I'm not going to be using tarot at all for this reading. So it should be interesting, okay? So go ahead and pause this video. The way it works is you pause, you pick the pile. This is going to be pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. This is rainbow obsidian, kind of shimmery obsidian. This is urite, okay? And this is pyrite heart, okay? So I'm going to put the timestamps underneath in the description box, and then I encourage you to use those so you could just go straight to your reading, to the beginning, and you don't have to see me moving cards or moving crystals between the readings, okay? So if it's your first time here, welcome. I am so glad that you stopped by, and please, I encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, or share if you like any of my content. All right? I will see you in your reading. All right. All right, pile 1, you chose the obsidian little turtle. Let's do it. Let's see what's going on here. I have 2 decks of these cards, so we'll get some cards from each. Okay, what is going on? Pile 1, please. I guess that's it for this deck. Okay. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so first of all, I feel like there might be some, I'm getting maternal energy, feeling frustrated. Perhaps you are trying to start a family, trying to create a business that falls in line with maybe your heritage or your culture, like, I'm thinking like a restaurant or something that, like recipes that you're trying to work out. Maybe you're trying to write a book about cooking. Maybe you're trying to procreate and trying to get pregnant. Either way, I feel like there is a big passion in you for moving forward in being creative, either by making another human being or being inspired to continue with whatever endeavor or business that you're trying to move forward. Clearly here it seems that she's pregnant. She doesn't have to be, but it appears that she's pregnant. And there's a flame here and a flame here. This reminds me of DNA that's over here. I feel like there's some sorrow. I'm not sure if you've tried to have a child many times and it has not been successful, or you've really tried to start this business or have had ideas for this business and you feel like there's been a lot of things getting in the way, blocking it from really coming to be. Because this feels like pent up energy. It doesn't feel like expressed energy. It feels like it's pent up, that there is, it's not been born yet. And a lot of this dark color makes me feel like there's sadness and a lot of turmoil and perhaps despair when you think of the idea of this passion that you have before you, whether it is to start a family or it is to start that business or go to that university or whatever, take that fellowship or do some kind of passion that it ignites you. So it's something that you are passionate about. It's something that you hold dear to you. So you might even have another profession, and this is something that you're wanting to really do on the side, if this is a business. I feel like you're missing fellowship. You're missing someone in your life that you can relate to, that you can talk to, that would be able to hear what you have to say and give you sound advice that's grounded and specific to your needs. You feel like perhaps you have been looking for somebody that could relate to you. Perhaps your situation is very unique, especially when it comes to having babies. There's so many different things that can make that just challenging on its own. And so unique. Every woman's, whoever has a opportunity to birth or adopt, the outcomes can be so unique, and the problems that can happen along the way can be, also very tedious and difficult. So, finding someone that you can relate to might be the stagnancy, the block, feeling that you don't have, someone that you can rely on. I think that you probably had someone that you did rely on, that you were very close to, that is no longer with us. That you feel maybe you could be a twin also. That's another possibility. You could be one of a twin. Perhaps you and your twin don't live in the same state or in the same country, or where your twin has passed on. But there's some person, could be just like a soul tribe person, someone like a best friend that you grew up with that's not around. And I think that's created a lot of pain around moving forward in your life. A lot of pain, and pain that you've suffered with on your own. You haven't, I don't know if you've talked to anybody about what you're going through, or maybe you need to be strong for people in your life. Maybe you need to act like you can handle what's going on. But inside, I feel like that there is a lot of pain and anger that needs to come out. The good news is I feel like that tribe, that your new soul tribe, or whoever new is going to be coming into your life, they will be coming. because this is, I mean, almost self-explanatory, this card, you know, like you have the earth here and you have these people just leaning on each other. And I like that it looks like an earth and not a moon. It feels like, you know, when we think about earth, we think about all of the things that have gone into making this beautiful planet that we live on. You know, it's got so many different elements to it, you know, fire, earth, water, vibration, electricity, you know, magnetism, so much that makes it what it is. And I think that that is kind of the kind of group that you're going to find yourself gravitating towards, a group of people who have a lot of different things to bring to the table. So if this is a business endeavor that you feel very isolated and alone, like you've had to look up all the information on your own, and you feel like you're spinning your wheels and you're not moving forward, maybe you need to join kind of like a city commerce group, you know, where like women, for example, I know that there's Chamber of Commerces in a lot of cities, I think. I know that we have one here, and I know that, I mean, it's kind of part of the of a city to have some type of central support for small business owners. I would look into that in your area to see if there are people in your area that attend a Chamber of Commerce meeting. Chamber of Commerce reading. Chamber of Commerce meeting where you can find your tribe. Find the people that can really support you in the unique way that you need to be supported right now. Because I feel like because your passion is not letting you sleep at night, it's not letting you rest, it is something that you cannot forget or let go of or think, you know what, maybe I'm just not going to do it at all. Because every time you do that, it surfaces up. It reminds me of like when you do laundry, like before we got all these like really cool products to get oil out, you know, you would bleach your shirt, do all this stuff to your shirt, see it wet, right? Think, okay, it's gone. I don't have to worry about that oil stain, whatever. Then the minute you get it out of the dryer, there's that stain. It's right there. It doesn't go away. Sometimes we have a lot of things on our heart that are imprinted that way, where we just feel really compelled to move in a direction that really speaks to our soul. Especially I think as you get older, you start realizing that really happiness is a birthright, you know, happiness, being happy, going toward the things that make you happy, even if other people don't agree with it, is extremely important in the whole pursuit of being authentic. And this is part of it, being authentic. And I feel like starting a business or even having a child, those two things, I think, anything that you put together with your own hands, creating art, for example, also being a writer, anything that takes creativity, you take a little piece of yourself out and you're just kind of showing yourself naked to people. You're just kind of like, here I am, you know, like when you have your baby, you're like, that's what I made. Fat, chubby, ugly, doesn't matter. That's what I made. My little hairy, skinny baby, hey, that's what I made. You know, like my chubby, big man baby, that's what I made. You know, like you can't, there's no room to be embarrassed or be like, oh, you know, maybe I didn't do a good job with my diet when I was pregnant because now my baby's fat. I mean, babies come out the way they're going to come out. Businesses also, you know, like you put yourself out there and you're kind of naked out there. You're like, this is what I love. And I would like you to love it too. And I hope that people want to spend their money on something that you love to create. So that is a very vulnerable thing and a very vulnerable place to be living, especially if you feel like you haven't been able to move forward and get the ball rolling. These other two cards are interesting. This one is kind of looks like somebody that has... It looks like he's thinking. I see this light coming out, which makes me feel like there's going to be insight coming to you. I think you're going to grow wiser. You know, here you're feeling very, you know, I think sad, dark, lonely, looking for support, not finding it where you're at. But I think through acknowledging, and this is where I'm getting this kind of soulmate connection. Either it is with a twin that you had or a family member that you loved, somebody that you felt completely intertwined with that might not be with you anymore. And it might have compounded this feeling of loneliness. Maybe it was a business partner that you felt like, you guys were peanut butter and jelly, and this business wasn't going to move forward in any way without that person. But you still have this kind of passion behind really wanting to do this and move forward. And this, you guys, could be as simple as like, I feel stagnant and I have no real reason to feel stagnant. I don't know what I want to do going forward, but I know where I'm at is not feeling good. Where I'm at is very lonely. I miss people that used to be around me, that understood what my thoughts were, anticipated my needs. They were able to be on that phone if I needed to call them at 2 o'clock in the morning. And now you don't have that. Now you're having sleepless nights. Now you're not feeling really connected. So finding a new soul tribe is absolutely needs to be on the top of your list. And finding people that you have, lots of things in common with. Like, let's say you like to do karaoke. Let's say, finding bands that do karaoke, and where do they hang out and who do they hang out with? Do they have meetings? Are there people that like to perform in any choirs in town that I can join? Being proactive in that kind of way and working outward from the inside. Taking all of this passion and putting it into external things that you can say that you've done in order to move this forward. So, and I know it's kind of annoying because I know for me, I have ADHD pretty bad. And, when it's almost like I have this oppositional, like when someone says, hey, you need to do this, I immediately want to say, no, the fuck I don't. Immediately. I'm like, oh no. But if you come at me with like a nice, a different way and say, hey, can we talk? I'm thinking that I could help you with how you're doing things. That sounds so much better. And suddenly I'm open to it. It is, let's just say I was a tough kid to raise. Okay. And where was I going with that? I have no fucking idea. But anyway, that's what I was going to say, was moving forward, taking the practical steps, even though it sounds cheesy, like, writing in a journal, making a list, even if it's just one thing that you do on one day. Like today I called my city and found where small business owners have meetings. Boom. You already opened up the door right there. Opened up the door to possibilities of meeting a new soul tribe. And like I said, I think it's going to bring a lot of wisdom to you. I think you're going to have a lot of insight that's really going to support whatever you need in order to move forward. Okay, so like when I think about earth, I think about grounding, I think about rocks and mud and moss. And when you look at a mountainside and you look at how steep a mountainside could be, sometimes when there's not enough mud and dirt and you've got these heavy rocks, gravity will just push all of that down, and it'll be unstable. But when all of the elements are kind of working together, like you have a hillside that's steep, but there's extra mud and it's a little moist, and you have big boulders, but then you also have small boulders, and you have trees, and you have wood chips and leaves on the top, but then you also have this really heavy gravel that runs very deep. Like that hillside can be super steep and everything stays in place there. It all works in harmony. And sometimes when we want to, we don't think of all the things when we're trying to put ourselves out there, maybe be our more authentic self, maybe start the business or have a family. We don't think about all that will cost us. And if we don't have a good foundation, how starting that will make it that much more harder. So the more work that you do beforehand, the better. So, and starting with yourself, being authentic with who you are, being, not caring what people say, not absorbing negative comments. I remember my kid, I don't know if this is relevant to anyone, but when my son was young, And going to school and making friends was really hard for him. And, he really expected everybody to like him, and because he liked everyone else. He loved making friends. He didn't see any bad in people. Everyone was nice. So when a kid would be like, I don't want to play with you. I'm not your friend. He would be devastated, come home sobbing and crying, or we would be called because he is so upset at school and needs some encouragement from his parents, right? So I used to try to explain to him, not everybody likes, most people like ice cream. Not everybody likes strawberry ice cream. Everybody has their own flavor, their own thing that is their favorite. It doesn't mean that strawberry ice cream is bad. That could be the most favorite ice cream for someone, but it's not everyone's iced tea or ice cream, right? So it's a very elementary lesson, but I think even as adults, it's something that we're still trying to teach ourselves, that it's okay to be who we are and accept that there are going to be people that really do not accept us for who we are. Some people only want to accept us as long as we fit in their mold. Some people, maybe this, taking on this new endeavor, whether it be to start a family or a business, maybe there's someone you're having to break away from because they don't believe in what you want to do. That's a possibility. I think when it comes to having children, there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different reasons why somebody wouldn't be excited about you having children, because sometimes who you're having kids with is a thing. But I think making sure that you're being honest with yourself and being honest with your reasons behind why you want to do with what you do. That if you're going to start a business, that you're doing it because you really are passionate about, for example, the cuisine you grew up with. You're passionate about baking. You're passionate about barbecue. You feel like it's your signature. It's your love language that you can put out there for people. Mom and dad might not be feeling that great about you having a food truck or you going out on a limb and being like, I think I want to be a comedian, or I think I want to be an actor. Or, I don't want to go to school. I think I feel great just working, in the service industry somehow. So there's a lot of things that could be barriers to you moving forward. But the bottom line is that once you get to this soul family that you need to get to here, because this is clearly the next step, okay? And get that wisdom and insight and reflect back on, you're going to see more clearly why you were so stagnant, what was holding you back. And I could almost bet money that it's more simpler than you're thinking it is. The outcome is going to be wonderful. When I look at this card, it makes me happy. It makes me feel like, green is the color of our heart chakra, and green just reminds me of earth and being able to, like when you were a kid rolling down the hill on the grass, this person has their arms open, their hair's everywhere, not a care in the world, no shoes on, and just completely like grateful and happy for what is in front of them. And I think that is where you're being led. And a lot of times we have to go through darkness in order to get to the light. And it sucks. It sucks having to simmer in the pot. But it's worth it in the end, because you're going to be that much more grateful for this light that comes in, that this insight and family and new soul tribe is all going to be worth it. Okay, so that's what I'm getting from these cards. Now let's get a couple of advice cards. So these might not resonate for everyone, and that's okay, but if it does, then it's meant for you. If it doesn't, it's not for you, okay? But let's just see what we got going on here. Let's get a couple of advice cards for pile 2, please. Advice cards for pile 2. these. I kind of sort of, let's do these two. Okay, so, okay. Well, I like it when things are, there's synchronicity that happens here. So this card says, unexpected grief. Suppressed sorrow manifests in unexpected ways. Allow yourself to mourn fully. And I even think I mentioned that. Like when you are not, if this is a person that you did have to let go of, or a person you're having to walk away from, fully mourning is important. Like here, this card to me is an example of what not fully mourning would look like, right? We have all of this fire and angst inside. And look at how cold the outside looks. It looks just cold. It looks desolate. But all of this energy and being held there in the heart chakra, not being expressed. That's important. You've gotta feel those feelings. Maybe you didn't think it was going to be this hard. Maybe you thought this person was going to be supportive and be by your side, and they ended up failing. Or this person passed on, and you're feeling like you mourning that you do have to do this alone now, and how difficult that's going to be. And admitting that is part of that grieving process. Admitting that this is my new reality, like admitting, being authentic with your feelings, authentic with what you're going through, being open with people in your life, or actively seeking people in your life that can be there for you and help you in that regard. Okay, and then the second card here is embracing uncertainty. Not knowing what is next is not failure. It is an opportunity for reinvention. Reinvention. Okay? So if you are going through feelings of feeling uncertain, like this is something I feel compelled to want to do this, but there are all these reasons not to that maybe don't fit into society standards, or you're feeling like, but if I do this, what if I don't make enough money? If I do this, what if this happens? What if this bad happens? What if that happens? I remember, I'll say quickly here, because I do need to go to the next pile, but one of the things that's pretty interesting to me that I loved hearing was somebody was talking about how, making decisions is not what we think it is. We think making a decision is weighing your pros and cons and then making the best decision out from there, which in some respects, decisions can be that cookie cutter, right? Like, I have these two restaurants, let me figure out where I want to eat. Okay, that's a simple decision. Okay, we're talking about life-changing decisions, starting a business, starting a family, ending a relationship, starting a relationship, all of those things. We tie those things to experiences that we've had in the past. So to try to anticipate what might go wrong, or allowing what might go wrong stop you from making a decision is almost a crazy idea when you think about it, because there's no data that you have on what it would be like if the business was successful. Your brain doesn't have that in there. It's not something you've experienced before. It's not a memory that you have. Like people who have maybe done a lot in their life, they can recall both positive and negative. Like, I've started a business before, and this is how it went. And they have all this wise information. Like maybe you'll run into people like that. But if it's something new that you've not ever done, your ego is going to want to protect you. Your ego is going to want to say, Salima, that is not wise. Remember what happened last time you gave your heart? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you were depressed for 6 months and gained 20 pounds. Oh, or it was so devastating, it was the worst thing, you would never do it again because it was so terrible. Or your ADD is too terrible. You're not going to be good. You're not going to be able to focus. I'm just repeating what has happened to me in the past. That's not going to allow me to make any decision. I'm going to stay stagnant, and I'm not going to move forward. So just make a fucking decision. And don't worry about all of the things that could go wrong, because your brain is just doing what it's supposed to do, and that is protect you from making bad mistakes. But you only have the bad mistakes that you've made in order, as reference. So you never know, like this could be a decision that you make, and it is the best thing that you ever decided to do in your life. And then you will have all that information in your brain to store about what that felt like, about making that good decision. It turned out good for you. Good meaning that you didn't get hurt that time, or that the business was successful, or the pregnancy was successful, or whatever the case may be. But making a decision is part of being who you are, as who you are deep inside, not what other people think of you, and moving forward with that. And taking a step forward, making a decision in that direction, so that, and not trusting your gut when it comes to not trusting your gut, not trusting your, intellectual mind when it comes to trying to make a decision, because our intellectual mind just has, like I said, the old data of getting hurt, data from the past. But if your spirit that's why they do actually say follow your gut, because your intuition comes from a different place. It comes from your core, either your heart space or your solar plexus, which is a little bit above your belly button, where you get a feeling. Like your mind doesn't participate in that, and it doesn't get to say, yes, drive that train. Like it doesn't get to say, like, when you have a gut feeling about something, you usually will try to follow it. Typically, people who have had a lot of trauma with that and have had it come out poorly for them have a harder time following their intuition. But they could still be highly intuitive people, but because of only relying on the negative information their brain has about that experience, they do not move forward. So keep those things in mind as you move forward. Come back to this reading if you feel like it's helpful. I also do personal readings, so you're welcome to email me and have a more tailored reading just for you, okay? I'll put my email in the description box as well. So I really wish you the best, Pile 1, and until next time, bye. All right, Pile 2, you picked the Urite sphere. Okay, so let's see what you got going on here. All right, I'm going to use these decks that are just pure. It's just art. I'm not going to be using any tarot, and we'll see what comes to me here about what is going on with you. Pile 2 was... for this one. It feels very heavy. This feels heavy. I feel right off the bat, I feel like this is a heavy pile. So I sense some depression, mourning, sadness, isolation, regret. I think there's regret in a connection that might have happened between a parent and yourself, a grandparent. Maybe there might be some feelings of disappointment, whether that maybe you're feeling that people are disappointed in you. I feel like you lack support. Or as a child, you didn't have the support that you needed. And so becoming an adult has been not an easy process for you. You have suffered a lot, and you're really working to overcome like generational trauma. So cycles that your generation after generation went through, you're trying to stop that, and that is a lonely place to be. And so examples of that would be, let's say, all the women that you can remember in your family all were single moms and had poor relationships with men or poor relationships with partners overall, and they were very overbearing, all of them. But along with that, being strong single parents, they also alienated their kids because their kids never felt accepted or good enough, right? So that resentment that they had as parents, it was almost like a given that they took it out on their kids. And let's say you're trying to stop that by having a healthy relationship, but maybe getting to the point of being able to have a healthy relationship is the most challenging part, where you would feel alone and isolated, especially if finding that person, and maybe that's anxiety around finding the right person. What if you make a mistake and you end up like everyone else? Another example of generational trauma also is like, sometimes you have the opposite, right? Where you have, and it's not all about the maternal influence here, so it's just what's coming to mind, where you have like the opposite of that, where you have a weak-minded women that, just women that were unable to say no, for the most part in your family. Unable to say no to the men in their lives, unable to say no to their older children, unable to say no to their, to being disrespected. Maybe there was some physical abuse or mental abuse, financial abuse. But for the most part, women just kind of stayed married because that's what they were supposed to do. And you have decided that you don't want to be married and that you want a career first, or that you don't want to have children. something that is against the grain of what everybody else has done in the family. And what you're choosing is healthier than what the family has done in the past. Because even though I see that there's a lot of loneliness here, I see that, the autumn leaves here covering her hip area reminds me of like changes, right? New cycles, new things are coming into be, or the effort of trying to make things right is taking place. And that effort is causing pain and sorrow. And I know that you probably want to look towards, family. There's a lot of mourning and disappointment there. I know for myself, I have had to disown my family. And, when you come to the point of accepting the reality of them they're not going to change. And I can't expect them to change because they love me, because they don't love me enough to change. They don't love me enough to break this cycle. And that's okay. And to be okay with that. There's mourning that has to happen there, because I remember feeling so devastated that my family wouldn't accept me for it. Like, how could they think that I was selfish when all I was trying to do was do things the right way, right? But yet the way I was treated was the opposite. You would have thought that I got arrested for my 5th DUI and I'm doing time. But instead, I became a college graduate by myself. Instead, I made efforts to be a better human overall. But that is what was held against me, because I was more devoted to that. They felt I should have been more devoted to them. But this is not my reading. But that might be something that you guys that dynamic seems that it might be something at play here. A lot of mourning and reflecting, looking back at either how other women did it or how other people did it in your family, looking at how you want to do it. It's probably starkly different, and not feeling supported. I'm going to say this, and I'll put some links at the bottom for if you're having mental health challenges, like a hotline you can call, or a suicide hotline as well. But this card really speaks to me about mental illness in general. Just feeling like you have a lot happening upstairs. And this does not need to be, mental illness. It could be just staying up at night, trying to ignore what other people are telling you, trying to not listen to the way our brains try to tell us, oh, well, if you do this, this is what they're going to think of you. Or if you do that, they think of you, watch, they're going to start talking about you. Or the way, it reminds me of waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to go back to sleep because your mind is absolutely racing. And this person is, you see these other faces here, they're the ones talking. And this person is just trying to see it, see the anxieties, see those feelings, acknowledge them, and let them pass. And that is advice that I've heard multiple times from different sources, right? But it is a whole nother thing to try to do on your own. I remember when I was first trying to learn tarot, and I was, trying to figure out what is meditation and why do you meditate and what's the point and all that. And I found this really elementary cartoon on YouTube that explained it. They kind of say it's a way to kind of separate yourself from your thoughts. But for me, my thoughts are so intertwined with how I feel, that is a very difficult thing for me to do. But the analogy of okay, let's say that you're gonna meditate now, okay? And we're going to sit down. We're going to take a deep breath. We're going to hold it. And then we're going to let it go. And we're going to do that 3 times. Okay, so let's say we do that. And then what they want you to do is imagine yourself sitting on a hillside in front of a street. Okay? And it's a nice hillside. It's pleasant. It's comfortable. All your pressure points are not, being bothered. You feel very calm and comfortable there. And let's say that these thoughts that come, these anxieties and these thoughts that come, it's right in there. They're like, pile 2 is quiet now. Let's go ahead and invade the brain. As they come, because at first they're going to all those thoughts are going to come in right away, because this is a new thing, a new practice, right? Look at them as the cars that are passing by. Recognize them. Oh, look, there is that red car passing by. Okay, there it is. It's passing by, and now it's gone. So an example would be, okay, I'm feeling really anxious about work tomorrow. Do I have a reason to feel anxious? And ask yourself, talk to yourself, like if you were talking to a friend, well, why would you feel that way? Well, I don't have a reason to feel that way. Okay. Is it something that needs to take up this energy at this very, very moment? No. Is there something I can do that can help that anxiety, right? So for me, like even just, there have been times where I've had to pack for a trip and I wake up because I'm worried about not packing everything. Well, one thing would be great to do is just have a suitcase open and start throwing shit in there the week before your trip. All the things so that that is the one place you're putting everything. And when you go through it to pack, most likely you're going to have everything there that you need. And there you have resolved that particular worry, right? By just taking an action. But some worries, when it comes to what this is feeling like, are just worries that will not go anywhere, because they're tied into who we see ourselves as, relationships that we've had, core memories that we have, ideas of who we are as an individual, who we are as a family member, who we are as coworkers, who we are to other people, all the way to our purpose. Like, what is our purpose? Like if it's tied to those kind of things, they're far harder to just watch pass by, as that cartoon said. But I do think that the idea of recognizing it makes it more of an intellectual process instead of an emotional process. And that can aid you in moving forward, at least for that moment. If you intellectualize it and say, instead of tying feelings to it, because anxiety is, feelings of apprehension and fear tied to intangible things, usually. Things that either, you can't take care of right away, or things that you don't have the answer to. Maybe you're having a serious meeting with your boss the next day. Well, yeah, that'll make you nervous. You don't know how it's going to turn out. And so your ego tries to protect you and say, oh, got to be on edge. You got to be on point. You got to, which is really just, you're in bed trying to go to sleep. No, we don't need to be on edge right now. I need to fucking go to sleep, anxiety is that way. But, coming back to your reading, I'm so sorry. And I hope that whatever I'm saying is helpful. But what I'm trying to say is this. I think that these 2 cards speak to the problem solving. Okay. So it speaks to letting go and allowing other people to help you. Like if you look at this person's hands are down here. And there are other people's hands holding that very delicate egg for this person. So it's kind of like letting yourself be vulnerable. Maybe be open to a best friend that you haven't talked to in a long time, but maybe that best friend understands this dynamic, okay, that you have going on here, or understands you in a way where they're like, oh, I can see why this is such a difficult thing for her or for him. But it's kind of that surrender to say it is what it is, right? An egg is an egg. You can't anticipate what kind of feathers that bird is going to have. I mean, you could to some kind of degree, right? But like, it's kind of like when you plant a seed, you know, you don't dig it up to see how much it's grown, you know, from 2 days, you know, you're going to kill the plant, right? So it's kind of like that idea of letting go and being and surrendering, allowing whatever happens to happen, allowing the grief to take place that needs to take place, letting go of the preconceived or taught old ideas that were taught to you that no longer serve you anymore. You know, a lot of the things that we were taught as children no longer serve us as adults. And solving adult problems is a lot more complex, a lot more harder, and we get less help as we get older. There's this assumption that, you know, once you reach an age that you shouldn't need to look for advice. You shouldn't need to ask for support, which is, I don't know, I'm Gen X, so maybe that's kind of like where I get that from, right? Like we were very feral children, you know, in a lot of ways. But support is important. Recognizing what these squeaky wheels are and just being like, I'm not going to let it affect me. Let the thought pass. Let the thought pass. Really doing that was a real practical way that I've started to try to love myself. Like if I look in the mirror and I feel like a bloated toad, but when I put that outfit on at the store, you know, I thought I looked cute, and now I'm home and I feel like a bloated toad, you know. So then instead of allowing myself to get into this spiral of like, oh, it's the end of the fucking world, I'm just the fattest thing that I can imagine, instead of that's tying feelings to this outfit that I tried on. It was just almost crazy to think about. But if I separate my feelings and say, well, what am I feeling? Well, I'm bloated. Okay. So, should I try on this outfit when I'm not bloated? Maybe that'd be a good idea. Because when I bought it, I wasn't bloated. Ding, ding, ding. Perfect. So then maybe we just need to get dressed and feel comfortable. Put the baggy jeans on, put the loose t-shirt on, and feel happy about the way you feel versus how you look. Because it comes all back down to how you feel, okay? And I think that through that, you're really going to get to a spot. Like this card really reminds me of the sun card. And also a nipple. But it's not a nipple. It is not an areola. It is some type of sun, okay? Get your minds out the gutter. Minds out the gutter. Okay. Anyway, grasping, I think, here, the space that's stretched out here. I think that it probably coming from here to here seems like a very large step. Hard to kind of like put together that there's a day where you're not going to feel upset about what's happening in your life right now, where you're going to be over this generational shit and actually be happy. Like, to imagine that seems very daunting, but it is absolutely possible. Absolutely possible with the right people. There's people that you're going to come across that want to be giving with their light. They want to share. They want to encourage. There's going to be people that take all of that for granted and call themselves spiritual, but never do any of the deep work. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of intellectual knowledge about spirituality, but really have not done a lot of the hard work to go through the shadow, the shadow self. Sit down with their demons so that they understand, the light better, or that they're more grateful for when the light does come back around. This person here looks like a little fairy, covering these eyes here. And I feel like not everyone this is interesting, not everyone's going to understand where you're coming from, and it's okay. It's okay. I was reading to a friend this book. It's called The Kabbalion. Let me see. I brought it here. Funny enough, I have it with me because I've had it on my mind, but I brought it to this reading, which I never read books, but it's called the Kabbalion. I know I'm not saying that right, but it's the 3 initiates And it talks about some core principles of the Hermetic way. And one of the things that is discussed is this quote of, it says, milk for the babes, meat for the man. Okay? So that's what this card makes me think of. Milk for the babes, but meat for the man. So there's some people that you're going to come across in life that really just need the milk. They just need a little bit of pep talk, and that's all they can digest. They can't even comprehend what sitting with your demons is really all about. To them, that seems like, like, why would anyone want to do that? Why would anyone want to be authentic? Ew. Like, that's not something I've ever learned before, or I can't relate to you on that. Like, why do you want to break away from your family? Your family means everything. I remember, like, especially when it came to my mom, because my mom, me and her definitely did not have a good relationship. And when I had my years of not talking to her, I always got the advice of, oh, well, she's still your mom. You need to love her. I would always say, you know what? Fuck that. No. Just because she's my mom does not mean that I have to love her, because I was her child and she didn't love me. Like, where's the obligation there, right? Seeing things for what they are and feeling good about that decision you're making. You need to walk away from these like family traumas. Do it in a healthy way. If you need to go to therapy, go to therapy. But be true to yourself and understand that if you are going through this shadow, if you are being shown by the universe that this way in the past, or what has been done in the cycles in your family's life is not the right way, then you have been chosen to have that meat. You, the universe, your angels, your ancestors, everyone believes in you, that you hold that strength. And you're meant to learn those. You can withstand, that simmering pot. You can withstand the fire. Not everybody gets that chance. Not everybody gets awakened. Okay? So in that regard, I would say that you should feel in some kind of way inspired and know that see, and purple and blue, it's all like your heart, your throat chakra and your crown chakra. So I think embracing that these decisions that you're having, or realizations that you're having, even though they have caused some sorrow for you, you're being shown these things because you've been chosen to see those things, because you're going to be able to actually take this and transmute it and learn from it and become a better human. And not everybody's meant or capable of doing that. Some babes just stay babes and just need milk for their whole life. And yeah, men get the meat. Okay, so let's get some advice cards quickly here. That's not it. Oh, interesting. Thought it fell. Okay. What advice do you have for pile 2? What advice do you have for pile 2, please? All right, let's see what we got here. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, so the first one you got is the shadow's gift. Within darkness lies wisdom. The pain you've endured is shaping you into someone stronger. Is that not what we were talking about? And I love how you've got like a dragon here and this one guy standing by himself. Like, literally sometimes that's exactly how it feels when you sit with your demons. When you confront the things that have plagued you and caused so much sorrow for you, and you face them, They're harmless after that. They have no power after that. No power. No power to keep you in a cycle. You know, those in the past that allowed it to stay as something fearful, they never woke up. The shadow is a gift, okay? All right. Second, soul contracts and lessons. The people who trigger you most are often your greatest spiritual teachers. Interesting. Soul contracts and lessons. So we're talking about like ancestral trauma, cycles that continue on and on. I would say that the biggest lessons that I've been able to learn are from the people that hurt me the most, I'd say. Yeah. I mean, this person here might be a spiritual teacher that's going to be coming to you that you'll recognize, and maybe you will see it played out in real life, where you have someone that's like really knows their shit, really honest, really authentic, really, really doing the good work about just helping, just being available for help for the collective and guidance. And people really not getting it, or squandering it, or taking advantage of it. And you'd be looking at them like, how in the fuck? How do they not see this? But you've been chosen. Okay? The pain you've endured is shaping you into someone stronger. You're going to exceed your ancestors. And they're going to be holding you up as you do it. Because you've been chosen. You have the sustenance. You have the grit. The strength. The discernment. The wisdom. It's all there. Okay, pile 2, I'm going to leave it here for you, okay? Thank you so much, and I really wish you the best in your journey. I do personal readings. You can email me if you're interested. If you liked this reading or want to suggest another one, please comment, and please subscribe. It's really easy to do. You just hit the button and the bell, and it helps my channel grow. So if you could do that, that would be wonderful. Okay, and until next time, bye. Pile 3. Hola, hola. So let me just tell you, these cards, they're pretty deep. So Pile 1 and Pile 2 are, if you want to know the chisme, then yes, I would go back and listen just to hear what other people's readings were like, because they're kind of interesting. I did not expect. Well, I can't say I expected anything other than I didn't realize how deep I was going to feel looking at these cards. So some of the subject matter is a little intense. I'll say that. So let's see what happens with you. All right. Let's get some cards for Pile 3. Okay, no more from there, which is interesting because the opposite has been true for the other two readings where more came from this red deck. Wow. Okay, so these definitely popped out face up. Oh, wow. Ah, interesting. That came out for Pile 2. So maybe this is, some folks came from Pile 2 to come watch Pile 3, or if you feel like maybe Pile 2 has some messages for you here. So let's see. Give me a second. So, first thing that comes to mind is forgiveness. I feel that forgiveness is something that you might be looking for. And I feel like, when I looked at this card, I was thinking that this person looks like a child. Maybe a parent over here and they're holding hands, but I'm getting a message of inner child. So, some people decide to do take on the process of going back and looking at their inner child and becoming the person. Basically, I know that it's kind of even cliche to say, but like becoming the person your inner child needed. But I feel like that there's some forgiveness, there's some anguish behind this. So I'm not sure if maybe as a child there was some kind of event that took place where maybe there was a lie that was said, or there was some mistruth that was done, or an assumption that was made that as a kid you never made an effort to correct. I'm thinking with an older parent. I'm not sure. Could it be a grandparent that maybe you fibbed to, you lied, didn't say something that was true? And for whatever reason, it carries a lot of guilt for you. And I think seeking forgiveness from your inner child to say you only knew what you knew then. You did what you had to do. You only did what you knew to do at that time, what you were taught all the way up until that point. And depending on what kind of family, if you were taught at all, right? Like some of us that were never taught about a lot of important things that could have helped us be better humans, adult humans. I feel like you ruminate over it, and that you might think that the person that you, because I feel like this is an ancestor or an older family member, like a grandparent or great-grandparent. And this feels like going through cycles of, or rumination, stagnancy, not moving forward, going in circles with yourself about this situation over and over and over again, not really ever growing out of or letting go of that thing. And sometimes there are a lot of events that cascade off of one event, like you have one catalyst, maybe that particular event, if there even was one. This could just be this relationship that you had that you felt like you should have been more honest and you weren't, or you knew some truth that you should have said to this person before they passed, or that we're just talking about you and yourself, you forgiving yourself, and this is your older self, not sure if you feel like it's affected you. You've become a different human, a different adult. You're not happy with where you ended up because of maybe the way that you've held on to certain outdated beliefs about whatever took place here. But my intuition does not tell me, it leans towards that this is an ancestor or my grandparent. You might be having dreams of this grandparent, and that could be why you clicked on this reading. Maybe you're having dreams about this grandparent, or having dreams about this. Somebody's coming to you at night in your dreams. That could be in the form of anxiety, or it could be a nightmare, or it could be just a sweet, soft dream of a sweet interaction that you had with this grandparent that then triggers you to think about this situation. That's what this feels like. This person looks like they're sleeping here. And this looks like a spirit coming to just kiss them on the cheek at night. So you could be having dreams of them. But there is a lot, there's two whole cards here about coming together with family, or coming together with your spirit tribe. We have this one here, and it looks like a crown. This could be a mother figure, but she's crowned with these people. She seems really at peace. Almost to tell you, almost to say you think this is how your grandparent is in the afterlife because of, what took place. When I look at this card, I think of an arid land, desert, isolation, and darkness, dried leaves. And because the eyes look big and the pupils are big and the, iris is big, it's almost like speaking to you to say, you're not going to forget me. Almost in a creepy way, right? But when I look at this one, She looks so at peace. So beautiful. In fact, looks young. High cheekbones, beautiful lips. It's like the Day of the Dead, where it makes me think of that movie, that cute little cartoon. I forget the name of it. Anyway, the people that were in the afterlife were the happiest when they were being remembered, right? They were just being remembered, and then they were able to be happy. But if you weren't being remembered, you weren't able to pass the bridge and see any loved ones on the day of Halloween or the Day of the Dead. So you would wither away, which is kind of what this is, right? The reality is, I think if this is about a situation where this person has passed on and there is some regret about the relationship, mourning that has not been released, being visited by the person, either in dreams, or you feel like there's maybe some activity at your house that's happening, that is this person. The reality is that they are at peace. That they already know that you feel bad. They already know what took place. You know, when we lose our bodies and we pass on, we're energy. That's been recorded. I mean, science has recorded that, you know, that the body itself loses something once it dies. Energy is released. It's where that energy goes that everybody likes to talk about, right? But we can all agree that there is energy released, right? That person is no longer in that body. And I think, you know, because of, depending on how you were raised and your religious background, whether you believe that that's a happy place or not, can be heavily influenced by how you were raised or whatever your religious belief you have. But if you clicked on this reading and you chose group 3, I mean, your family member is telling you that they are good. They are at peace. And if they were the last one to go out of, like, let's say they were the youngest grandparent out of 11 children or something, you know, I think this is representing that all the people they looked forward to seeing in heaven were there. Your person is not alone. Your person is not suffering. Those are those messages. Those kisses that you're getting at night. And I think the message too from your person is that they want you to look up. Okay? So what I mean by that is look up to, you know, sometimes, you know, have you ever heard that term, like, I'm not just sitting here staring at my belly button, you know, the term of just like being distracted and looking down or, you know, not paying attention. And sometimes, you know, we could be actually paying attention too much to things that cause us anxiety or, and, you know, how certain outcomes took place with family members or relationships that we have, or there's new finances. There's all kinds of things that cause us to, you know, be so focused on what's in front of us that, like, the whole idea of scrolling on your phone, you know, you're like living a whole different life, you know, watching, you know, reel after reel on your phone. And I do that too. I'm guilty of it, you know, but then you're disconnected. Then you look up and you know, try to put your phone down, and you know, it's kind of hard because being distracted feels more comfortable because it's a state that you stay the most in. And so your person is saying, look up for a minute, look up and look at what you have. Ground yourself. Get connected with other people. These people are, you know, leaning on each other for support, and also looking at the earth and saying, wow, you know, we got to take care of each other. All of us on this planet, especially, I don't know. I don't want to get distracted with current events, but y'all know where I'm coming from, okay? I mean, really supporting each other, being kind to each other, giving each other the benefit of the doubt. All of those things are so important right now, for all of us. And I think that your family member is trying to speak to you and say that, first of all, that they are good. They are not in pain. They are not alone. Everyone they were looking forward to seeing is there. They want you to find your tribe. Because living this human experience needs to be done fully. And nobody gets, I've said this in different scenarios, but nobody gets an award for suffering, especially self-imposed suffering, when you know better, right? When you die. Like when you die, you don't get oh look, here's Salima came through the pearly gates. She gets an award because she denied herself a happy relationship her whole life. Congratulations. Like nobody's going to do that, right? Nobody's going to say, oh, look, here comes so-and-so. I thought of the name Rachel. Here comes Rachel. Good for her for, being sad her whole life because that one family member passed away and she never did anything happy or fun since. Nobody gets an award for that. That sounds almost ridiculous to hear, but we do this to ourselves all the time based on whatever we learned about life and death and about losing people that move on and transition from this world. We, especially in the West, we don't handle death very well at all. At all. There's not a class in elementary school that teaches it. I don't think. Unless they're talking about the birds and the bees, right? National Geographic teaches you, right? But yeah, this reading right here is a message from someone who's passed on to say that they are doing well. They are feeling good. If they've been visiting you, that's the message they've been trying to tell you, is that they're fine. You move on. You lift your head up, look up from your belly button, and live life. Get that tribe together, You know how sometimes people talk about soulmates, twin flames, all that shit, right? Some people think you only get one soulmate. Some people are like, you can have more than one. Some people are like, well, not the twin flame. You can only have one twin flame. Then other people are like, no, you can have at least two others. Anyway, everybody's just guessing, okay? But what I can say is that we do have contracts with people on this planet when we are born. And when I am a believer in reincarnation. I feel like that there is evidence out there, I think, that can't be argued. Many cases that can't be argued of children having memories of places they've never been before, yada, yada, which is a different reading. But I will say, though, that not only, our society focuses on love of one person, but what if it's just a soul tribe? What if you have soulmates that are meant to be like a family group that you meet with all the time? A chosen family, right? People that you connect with on a deep level that you collect over a period of time and enjoy life with. Really, really, truly living life. Living in mourning and this repetitive, stagnant energy, that's not living. No. And you get no reward for that. Having and experiencing this human experience as much as possible is really what life is about. Experience as much as possible. Make mistakes as soon as possible. Then the more time you have to have learned all of that and move on to the fun stuff. Because living life is all about happiness. It's about taking ownership of your own happiness and being honest with what that happiness is and what it means to you. And I know this person obviously loves you so much to come to my little measly little tarot table in my little YouTube channel and send you this message. So if this message is for you and it resonates, please put a little angel in the comments, a little angel emoji, to tell me that that you resonated with this, okay? Because it is definitely, did not expect, a family member to come through here on a reading today. So let's get some advice. This could be from your family member or from universe, okay? Okay, what advice do we have for pile 3? Oh, 2 cards right out the bat. All right. We have your inner light. Even in the depths of shadow, your soul remains luminous. Never lose sight of it. That's beautiful. Maybe I could see this being your family member telling you that. Your inner light. Even in the depths of shadow, your soul remains luminous. Never lose sight of it. There's some cultures that, not some cultures, but some people in the paranormal world will say that when you have a light inside of you, like you are a person who lives vigorously and, or you're open to other energies, you're open to the paranormal, the ideas of what that is, or spirituality or whatever, that they say that people who have passed on, who choose to keep their energy here on this planet, can see you very clearly because of that inner light. And maybe that's that message, right? You can be seen because of how you are glowing. The next one is the mask of happiness. Are you hiding sadness behind forced smiles? Authenticity heals deeper than avoidance. Wow. Remember, I was telling you, nobody gets an award for staying sad, staying in the cycles. Being happy because you need to be happy. It's your birthright. It's your birthright. Being authentic leads to that happiness. Not being authentic leads to just more sadness. Feeling unfulfilled. Feeling alone. Feeling like nobody understands you. If you're functioning in an area or functioning as someone else, you think this makes everybody else happy, so that's what I'm doing, this cycle that we all get caught up in with the society standards of everything from relationships to our appearance to how we should eat, what we should eat, all that crap, But being your most authentic self is where real happiness lies. Because then it's like your identity can finally sit down and rest. Your who you are can finally take the walls of anxiety of being caught off guard and being authentic. Being caught with your pants down is what I think of. Like being authentic. It's kind of like that whole idea of like people who lie. It's harder. I tell my kids this, and it's true because they've seen their other friends get in trouble. But I'm like, you know what? Lying is more hard work than just being honest. It's harder work to be a liar. Because then you have to remember your fucking lies. And then once you start lying, that's exactly what happens, is that you can't remember what you said to one person to the other. And it gets you in the most messiest mess. When if you're just honest, hey, I fucked up. Hey, I wasn't truthful with you that one day. Hey, you know what? I wish I told you the things that I've always longed to tell you. And I want to sit and talk about it. Or whatever. It breaks you free. Doing that is so freeing. And you can let down your guard. And all of those high stress hormones can just chill the fuck out, because you don't have to worry about being someone else. Just be you. Be authentic. Let that light shine. Let go of mourning. Feel good that your person is absolutely content in every way, every sense of the word, and watches over you, and might visit you in your sleep. Okay? So that's your message, pile 3. I wish you the best. Thank you so much for hanging in here this long. If you've, watched all 3, that's amazing. I do personal readings. You can email me. I'll leave my email below in the description box if you're interested. And please like and subscribe. It helps my channel. You push the little button there. And again, if this was your reading, put a little angel in the comments. I would love to hear it, or at least see it, to know that this touched somebody and this was a message that made contact with somebody for their loved ones that passed on. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.